Hi guys, Squall here, and welcome to another American Truck Sim video. We're in Oregon. I'm in my Kenworth W900. It's a 6x4 sleeper, 550 engine, 300 gallon tank I believe, and I've got the Eaton Fuller 13-speed gearbox. I thought we'd take a nice little journey through Oregon today, and I want to talk about some stuff, like where I've been, where the videos have been, and what I plan to do, because I'm sure you're all wondering. And I have a couple of Oregon keys to give away left over from what SCS gave me. I gave most of them out to my Twitch stream, but I have a couple left, so I thought I would give them out to you guys. So details of how to get hold of one of those Oregon keys, I'll tell you how shortly. Let's have a look at the route. We are in Coos Bay, and we're going to be driving up the 101. This is a lovely little coastal road, as I think if you watched my Oregon DLC video, you'll know that. As you can see, I've pretty much explored Oregon completely now, just a couple of little side roads to industrial things that I've not actually done. But we're going to be going up through Newport and delivering up to Astoria. The trailer is a 19-ton excavator. And if you are a fan of Jazzy Cat trailers, you will also know that Jazzy Cat's now finally updated his trailers for 1.32. So you can go and pull down his various AI packs and trailer packs and that kind of thing, which I'm running. So if you see any motorcycles or strange vehicles and you're like, what the heck, I don't remember seeing those before, chances are it came from Jazzy Cat. Anyway, let's get this thing started and get out of here, because we've got a bit of a journey to make, and I'll explain some stuff to you. Which way do we want to go here? Do we want to go to left or right? We could probably go left. Actually, it's probably easy to go right, isn't it? Let's go and hit the road. I have to say, and I hope you are too, I am very much enjoying the Oregon DLC. It's a quality DLC. I love driving around here. I love the scenery. I don't think this has got a turning axle, has it? No. Ugh. I do like turning axles on trailers like this. But yeah, I've spoken to SCS, and there's some more exciting stuff coming over the next few months, none of which I can actually mention yet until they announce it, but it should be cool, good times ahead. And so yeah, anyway, I've got a couple of keys to give away. Let's talk about that first, about how you can win one of these keys. I'm sure you might already have Oregon, but maybe you've got a friend or something who hasn't managed to get hold of it, etc. So what I'm going to do, because they're Steam codes, right? And you know the format of a Steam code is basically like 3 separate numbers with dashes in between. So what I thought I'd do is I'd take those keys and I'd split them up a little bit. So I'd split them up into 3 parts. I have 2 keys. Each one is split excuse me, each one is split into 3 parts. And I thought I would take those parts and I would put them on the screen throughout the video. So what you'll see throughout the video is, one second, let's just hold up here. You should see 6 parts of a key throughout the video. And what you need to do is keep your eye out, obviously, on the video, and then write down those 6 parts, and then you need to guess the order to put them in. So you take 3 parts and put them together in a certain order, shove them into Steam, and see if it works. And it might say invalid key because you got the order wrong, so try a different order. Punch it in and hopefully it'll say, whoa, you got yourself a key. Now obviously, if you're quick enough, you can grab yourself a key. If somebody else gets there before you, it'll just say product already used, or key already used, or something like that. But I thought that was, like, you know, a fun and interesting way of giving away a key. So good luck. Watch through the video. I won't announce it, just watch through the video, and if you see a key appear, write it down. Once you've got 6 of them, you should be able to start scrambling to try and get the right order for Steam, and that'll give you an Oregon DLC. So yeah, something fun, and I hope you appreciate that. So, let's just see how far we've got left. I have 250 miles. Let's get up to speed here. Don't want to be doing too far under the speed limit, otherwise we'll inevitably be late, so that should do it. Yeah, so where have I been, Squirrel? Where the heck have the videos been? What's been going on? What are you going to do about it? All of those are fair questions. 2 reasons, I guess, why there's been no videos of late. One of them is, I think I just burnt out a little bit over summer. I just burnt out, is the honesty. And I just needed to take my foot off the gas and just not make videos. I can't explain what happened or why it happened, but I just burnt out. And I feel now I'm ready to sort of come back and start producing content again. I don't understand why it happened. I can't really explain it, but it just happened. I'm only human at the end of the day, and that's pretty much what happened to me. The other thing is, I was my PPL, I'm trying to get my private pilot's license. My PPL has been going on for like over a year, and I really wanted to finish it. I really wanted to finish it during September if possible. That was my objective, because having got my license to fly, one of the things I wanted to do was focus on getting my night rating as we go into winter. November, December is the ideal time to get a night rating, because it's dark enough, and usually January, February the weather's a little bit too bad. So I had this kind of mental goal, if you like, complete my PPL by September, and I still had a fair way to go. I had to, by August I think I had like a couple of exams left, and a whole load of things I needed to do to get ready for my PPL. So I threw myself at it. I did quite a lot of flying, enjoyed myself, and focused on doing my exams, which I did, obviously required studying for. And then, what I don't know about the American PPL. I know it's structured differently, but in the UK PPL, you've got your 9 exams. Then you've got to do what's called a cross-country, a solo cross-country. And a solo cross-country basically involves you flying at least 150 miles on your own, landing at 2 different airfields, and at the airfields you have to get like ATC to sort of sign your form and put any comments on there about your flying. So if you really screw it up, you're going to find ATC writing on your form, dreadful approach, or dangerous landing or whatever it is. But luckily none of that happened. I actually flew up to Norwich, and then I went down to Southend Airport, so that was quite cool, because as I was coming into Southend, there was a Flybe. I think it was what was it now? I think it was a turboprop. I didn't really spot the model, I was too busy flying the plane, but I remember the Flybe sat there at the holding point waiting for me in this little Robin coming in, and as I sort of landed, the ATC said to me, "Can you please expedite off the runway onto," I think it was taxi point Charlie or something like that. I can't remember, but I did, and he was like, "Thanks very much," because I got off there quickly. I didn't mess around, because this Flybe wanted to go. So it was fun. Anyway, so I did my solo cross country, which was great. And then I basically had to get ready for my skill check. So I know they have this in the American PPL. The skill check is a bit like taking your driving license. You kind of go up, and there's various things that you're going to be tested on. You're going to have to demonstrate, and that was quite a fun journey. That was. So let me explain what happened to you. What happened to me? Sorry. I started off. The examiner gave me the route, and I had like half an hour to get ready for it. That kind of thing. Planned the route. So I had to, look at the wind and plan the actual routing. And he said to me, we're going to fly up to Lakenheath, which is like a US-run military airfield, and then we're going to fly east to Beccles. He said, however, we won't make Beccles. We're not going to get there. He said, at some point during that, I'm going to ask you to divert. And he said, I'm going to ask you to divert south to Manningtree. So I want you to plan that as well. I went, okay, so off I sat there, planning my journey. And we get up in the air and stuff, and we get over to Lakenheath, and we turn at Lakenheath, and we're sort of heading east towards Beccles. And he says, yeah, I don't want you to divert to Manningtree now. I want you to divert to Earl's Cone. And I was like, what? He said, yeah. So whilst flying this plane, holding the stick between my knees, and of course it got really bumpy at this point, I had to then get my plotter out and draw on the map a different route down to Earl's Cone, then factor in the wind and calculate in my head a heading how far it was and how long I thought it would take us to get there, all while getting thrown around in a little plane. So yeah, that was pretty interesting at that point. So I managed that, and of course this new route he gave me flew right through, I think it was Wattisham. And Wattisham's like another military airfield, and you have to get permission to go through it. So I then had to call them up and get permission to fly through. And what I didn't spot was it was actually the route he'd now given me was going to fly straight into a glider school, another airfield, and I hadn't actually clocked that. But as I was en route, the Wattisham basically said to me, your current heading, you're going to fly to this glider school, and it's active today. So I was like, right, at this point I realised what was going on, saw the glider school in front of me, about 5 miles ahead of me. I was like, right, there it is, need to divert again, and then get myself back to Earl's Cone. So that was like, I was a bit testing, that was, if I'm honest with you. Got back to Earl's Cone, threw some more fuel in, and then we went up again, and this time we were off doing the other kind of, that was, if you like, the navigation and radio stuff. This was now the practical flying test, if you like. So this is like cruising at 90 knots, then you do like a clean stall, then you do like a flat 10 stall, and recovery from the stall, as it were. Then you do like things like steep dives, level turns, like a full 360 level turn left, 360 level turn right with all the checks, and basically showing that you can handle the plane in different conditions. That's exactly what you're doing. And then we flew back to Earl's Cone. Now, and here's the thing, right? As we're flying back to the airfield, I hear him call up on the radio saying, you know, we get the runway 06, and he then says to the radio, we're going to do a PFL into 06. Now, a PFL is a practice force landing. Some part of my head didn't quite understand what that meant, because every practice force landing I've ever done so far, you know, you start off at maybe altitude 2,000 feet, you get an engine failure, which basically involves you just pulling the throttle, and you then have to essentially practice the fact that your engine has just failed and you're going to be gliding down and landing in a field, right? But what actually happens is normally at 500 feet he'll say, okay, you know, hit the throttle and climb out. So because you're not actually going to do it, it's a practice force landing. So that's what I thought was going to happen. We're going to do a PFL into runway 06, but we're not actually going to do that. We're actually going to punch out at 500 feet. Oh no. So as we're turning onto base leg for this, and I said to him, you actually want me to land? And he was like, yep. It's like, oh. So I got ready to sort of punch out at 500 feet, but no, we're actually, oh, this is a red light. Oh, we made it. We're actually gliding in and landing on the runway, which is something I'd not done in the PFL before, and of course I was now too high. I was quite a bit too high, because I was expecting to punch out at 500 feet. So here's me on short final, probably at about 500 feet, maybe 400, and you know, I've got to lose altitude real fast. So I did an S-turn, which is basically like a sharp left and then a sharp right, which scrubs off some of the height that you have, scrubs off some of the energy, if you like, and then dropped the flaps to increase the drag and got it in to the field about halfway down the runway. I glided it down and landed it nicely, and boy was I happy with that, because I honestly thought I'd messed that up. So, oh my god. So we did a full stop at that point, went back around, and we then did a lot of circuit work. And of course the circuit work is basically, I think he asked for like a flapless landing, he asked me for a glide landing, which is a bit like a PFL, except you're kind of flying along on your base leg, and you have to look at the runway and decide when to cut your power. And once you cut your power, you're not allowed to put it back in again. You have to glide the plane in. So I did that and did it pretty well. And then finally he said, right, I want you to do one landing in any configuration of your choice. So I said to him, well, I'm just going to do a full flat landing. He said, okay. So I just did a proper full flat landing. He got out and he said, congratulations, I'm happy to say you've passed your PPL skill check. I was like, yes, oh my god, yes. Oh man, it was pretty stressful. People keep saying, oh, you enjoy it. I was like, I'm not enjoying this. But I was happy to do that. And then yesterday, I had to do what's called your RT exam, which is your radio telephony exam. I don't know if they have this in the States or not, but basically what happens is an external examiner comes in. Let me just slow down a little bit here. Let's go to 25. An external examiner comes in and he'll give you a flight plan. It's like a... it'll usually be like a, not a real map kind of thing. It'll be almost like a virtual map. It'll have some airfields on it and a route, and it'll normally go through like a MATS area and maybe some Class Alpha airspace or something like this. And you sit in a room and put a headset on, and he sits in another room, puts his headset on, and you have a little box in front of you that your headset's plugged into, and you can select a frequency on it, just like you can in a plane, a frequency to talk to. But it also has a red light that he can invoke, that he can invoke an emergency on, of some description, and then the display tells you what the emergency is. And so the whole idea of this examination is he is going to take you on a, if you like, on a flight from the ground. You start your engine up, if you like, and taxi, take off, do this planned route, and then land at the designated airfield. All the while you're talking to him. He is pretending to be ATC, and you have to select the frequencies that you want. You have to talk to him as if he's the real ATC in the right way. This is what he's examining you on, basically, to see, you know, what your radio skills are like and how you report your position, your altitude, like what you're after, the service you want. But it also has the added twist that en route there will be an emergency of some description. It could be an emergency on your plane, or it could be an emergency that some problem that you see or have to relay. Some other aircraft will have an emergency and you'll have to relay that mayday. Also, there will be some kind of distress situation, which is a PAN call. So a distress situation could be you have an engine failure, or you see a boat on fire on the ground with people swimming in the water, you know, this kind of thing. And you are, you know, in the real world, you are compelled to report this kind of thing, or relay the mayday, or report the distress situation. Or if you have it on your plane, obviously you want to be putting in your PAN call because, well, if you have to ditch, you want somebody to come and get you, right? So all of this is going to be tested on the RT exam that you have, and it's quite a good exam actually, because it makes you kind of learn radio telephony properly, like the proper way to do it. However, I think I was obviously a little bit nervous because for some reason I think my tail number of my plane that he gave me was something like Golf Bravo Delta Oscar Uniform, something like that. Sorry, Oscar Yankee I think it was. And for some reason, whenever I read my tail number back, I was doing Golf Bravo Delta Oscar Yankee. I would actually say Golf Bravo Oscar Yankee. I kept missing the Delta out, and as I said it, I knew I was doing it, but I didn't know why I was doing it. Like, I've never done that before, but I remember doing it a few times. And of course, in the debriefing afterwards, he picked up on that. He said, like, you for some reason, you kept not saying Delta in your tail number. I was like, yeah, I know, I've never done that before. I can only imagine I was a little bit nervous or something. But he said after the exam, he said, apart from that, he said, the other kind of feedback I'd really give you is you kind of repeat some things back that you don't need to repeat back. You just need to sort of say Wilco, that kind of thing. He said, and it obviously saves bandwidth on the airwaves, right? Because if it's a busy frequency, you want to keep your transmissions as short as possible. And you know, if they say to you, you know, report reaching flight level 35, you can just say Wilco, you know. because he's already told you going to flight level 35, and now he's just saying report when you get there. You can just say Wilco. In other words, yes, I will comply with that. You don't need to say report reaching flight level 35, which is what I kept doing, which is all fair enough. Like he said, but however, if you look at the board, and he'd written some things on there, he said there's not a lot on there. He said your radio comms is actually very good. He said you just need a bit of polish. He said, well, that's great. He said one of the things you're really good at was reporting your position and your altitude, like where you were, he said I had a very clear picture of where you were as you were kind of flying, in quotes, this virtual flight. He said, so that's really good. He said, but no, you've passed, it's absolutely fine. So I was like, yes, and that was like the last thing, that I needed to do to get my PPL. So then came 3 hours of paperwork. I'm not kidding, guys. I'm not kidding, right? I had to get the PPL application form. Is like 10 pages long, and it has to have, you know, your flight hours filled in, all your skill checks that were done, all the exams that you passed, certified, like it has to be signed by the guy who did your RT exam with his details. It has to be signed by the chief flying instructor. You have to include all the paperwork for your cross country. You have to have like a photographic, a certified copy of like your driving license or your passport, a certified copy of your medical. It just goes on and on and on. 3 hours it took me to get all of that together, and then you have to send it off with your pilot's log, which is a log of every flight that you've made that you've been keeping in your book. That has to be the original one. You have to send it off with that to the CAA, along with a fee of £191 plus £6 postage for them to send it back. So yeah, that was like nearly 200 quid, and I completed my exam yesterday. I posted it yesterday, and I've checked my special delivery tracking. It arrived there at 8:30 this morning, and current wait time can be anywhere between 2 and 6 weeks. So until I get my actual paper license back, I cannot take passengers with me. I can fly solo, but I can't take any passengers, if you like. I can take like an instructor, that's no problem, because he's a certified pilot, but I can't take anybody that isn't a certified pilot, think of it that way. But other than that, I'm happy to say, guys, that I passed my PPL, and I can now fly a single engine plane, potentially with passengers real soon, which is great. So that brings me on to the next section, which is what I'm going to do with the channel and future videos and that kind of thing. So what you're going to see going forward, I'm going to be focusing on trucking, obviously, flight sim, which I know a lot of you want me to bring back, and I'm happy to say that is definitely coming back. There's a lot of things I want to do. I want to do some more racing. I've managed to get my sort of iRacing Class A Road A license now, so maybe bring you some more of the interesting races that I've been doing. My summer car, a lot of you guys have been requesting. I haven't done my summer car video for months, and I'm honestly about this, I totally burned out on my summer car. As you know, it's a very trying, testing trolley game, and I just burned out on it, guys. Honestly, I've not streamed it, I've not done videos of it for a couple, 2-3 months, something like that. I just got fed up with it. I couldn't take it. My head wasn't in the right place to take it. But that has passed now. I'm pretty much ready to go back to my summer car. I don't know why, we just had a very weird frame stop there. Happy to go back to my summer car and carry on. I know they've added a bunch of things, and we'll take a look at that. So they're the kind of videos you can expect, but I'll also be looking at the hardware side of things as well. So I want to look at hardware for flying, trucking and racing. So they're going to be the staple diet of the channel, if you like. And of course there will be other things as and when they come along, stuff like, I don't know, for example, if a new bus sim comes out, I'll take a look at that, or when the new farm sim comes out, I'll take a look at that. There's also, some other games that I've got my eye on, some nice sim games that I want to bring to your attention. So, there are going to be other things, but we need to have certain kind of things that are stable on the channel, and that's going to be, trucking and flying and racing. There goes the Nokia music. we must be a bit late. We're almost in Astoria. I don't know why we're so late. I've been pretty much keeping to the speed limit. But yeah, so I want to show you hardware as well. So there's people who want to get into racing, or want to get into trucking, or want to get into flying. There's so many choices of hardware, so I want to sort of take a look at different wheels and different rudder pedals and different yokes and like stuff like that you can use to fly with, and then you can make your own decisions about, you know, what might be right for you. I'll just quickly slow down. It just said 45. What's going on? I swear there was a sign back there that said 45. And it's apparently still 55. So yeah, there's stuff I want to show you on that, because I've been using, for example, on my trucking, I've been using a G27 for a long time. But I'm also aware that the G27 isn't for sale anymore. And it does say 45, crikey. And frankly, the G920 and the G29, like, they're decent wheels for trucking, but the shifter is a bit, well, it's pants, let's be honest. The shifter is not built for trucking, and the brake pedals are more built for racing anyway. Oh, of course the bridge is up as we're in a hurry. Of course it is. I don't know if you've seen this bridge or not. I did show it briefly in my video. But yeah, when you're en route and you're late already, this is not something you need. And of course that tugboat never goes any faster. So the shifter is something that I want to look at. So what I'm looking to do is I'm looking for like a new wheel, pedals and shifter with like an SKRS. Like, I'm looking for another setup, if you like, that I can show you guys that is a bit more modern, a bit more current and a bit more applicable for trucking. And equally with the racing side of things, I want to sort of have a look at different wheels. Like, I have a G920, I think it is, which is probably an entry-level racing, but I want to look at other wheels and say, well, if you want to get into racing, or you want something that's mid-priced because you can't afford like a high-end Fanatec or something, then what options have you got? And then when it comes to flying, of course, you know, which pedals should you go for? Do you go for like the cheap-end rudder pedals? Do you go for something mid-priced, something high-priced? Do you go for a yoke? Do you go for a stick? What kind of throttle quadrants are you going to use? There's lots of things out there that we could look at. And finally, I think I'd like to sort of bring a little bit of VR into the channel. I know we've talked about this before. My office space is not designed for VR. I'll be honest with you. It's too narrow. I need a big area, really, or bigger, wider area to do proper VR. But there are still VR things that I could do, particularly with like the Oculus Rift. Things that where I can just sit down, I guess. Things that I can sit down and just move my head and my arms. Well, I'm trying to work out how I'm going to do that with my cameras, because I kind of want you to see me using the controls as well as actually playing whatever it is I'm playing. So I'm looking to that side of it and doing a bit more VR. And also just looking to do like more unique stuff as well. So for example, now that I've got my PPL, whilst I'm not a qualified instructor, there's many things that I can teach. There's many things that stuff that I've learned, and I've learned a lot of stuff in the last year about flying. There's stuff that I can relay on, and also I can potentially fly something in the sim, and if it's not too far from where I live, I can actually go out and show you that in the real world, which I think would be kind of cool. That'd be a kind of cool thing to do. To show you something in a sim and say, we're going to fly from here to here, do it in the sim, and then go, right, this is me actually doing it for real, talking to real ATC, and you can see what we have to do. And I think that would be quite interesting for you guys, and I think it'd be kind of fun to do as well, because I've got like 3 GoPro cameras which I can slot into the plane. And also, I just mentioned this briefly before we get to the destination. Now that I've finished my training, and I've been doing my training in a Robin, which is a 2-seater aircraft, it's a decent little plane, but I don't want to fly in it going forward. So last week I flew in a Piper Alpha Warrior 2, and this week I'm going to fly in a Cessna 172, which are both 4-seater aircraft and a lot more solid than the Robin, a bit more space inside as well. So I'm trying to find out what plane I want to cross-train onto, just to take a few hours to cross-train over. And then I'll be using that plane, which is a lot more stable. So yeah, that's going to give me better range, better stability in the plane, and a bit more room to sort of put cameras up and that kind of thing. So I hope you've enjoyed this video and this little update. I would look forward to reading your comments on anything that I've said today. And of course, any keys. I do hope that you've managed to get yourself a key. By now you should have probably got all the pieces. And you've just got to sit there and work out what combination to put them into Steam. So best of luck with that, but please accept that other people are doing the same thing, so you're going to have to be pretty quick if you want to beat those people. But I thought it was a fun way to sort of give away the 2 remaining keys that I have, so best of luck with that. If you're watching this video 6 months down the line, you can fully expect to those keys to have gone. They'll probably have gone within a matter of, by the end of this video, I expect. Some people are pretty fast at this kind of thing. Right, let's get this trailer lined up and see just how late we really are. Hopefully we'll still get paid some money. But yeah, the Route 101 is a nice drive down through Oregon, isn't it? Really enjoy that route. Let's see if we can straighten this trailer off a bit. I changed the mirror settings. I don't know if you know this or not, but there's two settings you can have the mirror on. One of them is the default, and the other one is the more kind of realistic, mirror setting, which they brought in a few months ago, but a number of people complained about it. So what they did was, and I don't agree with what they did. What they did was they put it back to default and didn't make it an option. They just made it something that you either have to get a mod for, or you have to change on the console, which is just really annoying. But I prefer it. It basically gives you a much less wide-angle view, right? So you can't see as much, but what you do see has kind of better depth perception, if that makes sense. Let's disconnect this, and we'll see where we're at. Excellent delivery, which means I probably didn't get fined. Yes, that's cool. All right, got a bit of XP and a bit of money. We'll take that. So yeah, it's not an option. What you have to do is you have to bring down the console like this and put G underscore, I think it's fizz mirrors, there you go. G underscore fizz mirrors, and you can set it to 1 if you want what I've got, or 0 is what you've probably got by default. You then have to restart the game, and you'll see the difference. If you don't know how to bring the console down, go and watch my console guide video that I did that tells you how to do all that kind of stuff. I'll drop a link to that video in the video description just in case you want to go and watch that again. But it tells you how to bring this console down, which is really useful because you can do crazy stuff, like you can, set the time of day that it currently is and change the weather and, all kinds of nice little things that you can do. So go and watch the video if you're interested in that, and I hope you got yourself an Oregon DLC key, but please give me a thumbs up on the video if you enjoyed it, and let me know what your thoughts are on anything I said. Until the next time, take care. Happy trucking.